welcome to Evansville Podcast. My name is Jason Burton. Thanks for listening. Please go check out evansvillepodcast.com for previous episodes. Follow us on Twitter at EvansvillePod. Today, joined by Liz Riedford and Sarah Wagner. And they're talking about the upcoming 5K Run for Refugees. And it's going to be on September 10th at 8 a.m. out at USI. And this is to help raise money to support education for Syrian refugees in northern Jordan. Liz and Sarah, they also talked to me about the Road to Mafraq, the organization, what it is, how it came to be, and how they became involved with the organization. We talked a little bit about the Syrian refugee issue here that we had earlier in Indiana, and just kind of talk about what the organization does to help basically help the children get education over there in Jordan. So not the typical light fare that we talk about normally on the show. This is a little not to say we didn't have a fun time talking, but this is a serious topic. So I was thankful to have them on to talk about a very important issue, and so hopefully you will glean some good information out of this. So thanks, enjoy. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming over today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
We're here to talk about Road to Mafraq. Am I saying this properly?
Yeah, Road to Mafraq.
I just learned the proper way. So, why don't you guys, maybe one of you tell us a little bit about the organization, then we'll get into the 5K in here in a second.
Yeah. So Road to Mafraq was founded by an Evansville native, actually. Ellen Small-Ballard started it probably 5 or 6 years ago now, right as the Syrian war started. So she started realizing the refugee situation was kind of blowing up and had always thought, well, what can we actually do? And started this to focus on education for refugee children. So the organization funds schools and teacher salaries and different things for Syrian refugees. And now it just keeps expanding and growing. And we kind of are a partner.
Yeah.
In Evansville, we kind of have a group that helps partner with Ellen to do outreach around here.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if you think of Evansville and just think of Evansville just overnight absorbed 250,000 people, how could our infrastructure survive that? And that's what some of these cities in Jordan are going through. They have this influx of refugees, and there's just not the infrastructure there to provide them with the services they need. And so we just specifically are trying to reach out to provide education. We've got, kids that may be 10 years old and have never attended school because their country's been at war since they would have been in kindergarten. So we're just trying to, a lot of small efforts can add up to big efforts that make a large impact on their lives. Yeah.
And you mentioned it was started by someone here in Evansville, but how did you guys get involved?
Well, I got involved because I was a foreign exchange student in college, and I have always kind of had a heart for reaching out to whether it be a host family or just foreign exchange students in general here. It never had kind of panned out, and then when the Syrian conflict started, I kind of started thinking about it more seriously, and I reached out to the woman that coordinated my study abroad experience at USI, and I said, hey, are there students here that are needing anything, or how could I get involved? And she said, you need to contact Ellen at Road to Mafraq. That's she'll get you started. And she did. And there's other organizations I've gotten involved with as well, but that's how I got hooked up with them.
Yeah, I am currently a graduate student at Northeastern for international relations, and so my research was focusing on educational opportunities for refugees. So I reached out to Ellen to interview her for a paper that I was writing, and she asked if I wanted to go along to Jordan. So I actually went with her this last March to Jordan to do some research of my own, but also sort of learn more about what the organization was doing. And it was a wonderful experience. So that sort of brought it back to Evansville a little bit.
Yeah, I hear that when you go on these trips, not necessarily, I've not heard of anyone going to Jordan necessarily, but just generally somewhere outside of U.S. where they're not as well off, perspective changes on some things when you come back? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think particularly with this issue, like education, I mean, learning some of the ins and outs, like Sarah mentioned, some of these students haven't been able to go to school for years and years. And partially the parents thought that that the war was going to be quick. So like if something happened in Evansville, we might be like, I'm going to go stay with family, Tennessee for a little while.
Sure.
And so they weren't really thinking about this situation going on and on and on. But now that it has, that's been the aspect that's really gotten just kind of passed by the wayside, which the students' dreams and their hopes are, education sort of the foundation of all of that. So from an international standpoint, we need those kids to be educated. 10 years down the line, we've got uneducated, angry, traumatized kids without hopes and without a foundation under them. And it's just not good for anyone. So it's kind of a holistic issue that we all need to think about.
Yeah, and if you think about, I have 3 kids. My oldest is 9, my youngest is 2. And these kids have the same hopes and dreams that my kids have. These are not people that are we are way much more alike than we are different. And if you think about your own child, and if your own child was missed out, let's just forget about the trauma they've gone to, but just think about their education. If they had just missed out on that, how far would that set them back?
Yeah.
And these kids are, that much more set back due to the circumstances that they're in. But, we can't have an entire generation of a country go uneducated. It's not good for them, and it's not good for us either. So we're just really trying to reach out to them and provide them with the tools that they need to educate their children.
Okay. And so there's a 5K coming up that's to help raise money for this education.
Right. We have a 5K race that we're organizing at USI. It's on September 10th. And we have a website set up. It's at runsignup.com, and you can search for our 5K race. But then we're really trying to raise $20,000 to go towards a specific school in the northeastern region of Jordan, I believe. Mm-hmm. So this specific project, they've actually got a building that they're going to be renovating. So just if you were to think of what would it take to build a school here, it's the same stuff it takes to build over there. But specifically, we're looking to help provide them with 2 playgrounds. And we've done this before with our group. We did this last year. We raised money to pay for a playground at a different school. And if you just think about your kids and what they do, and children learn through play, so that, it's not like the playground is just a wasted space, but it's also a safe environment for them to be when they're outside of school. So the $20,000 is going to go towards providing that school with a couple of playgrounds, and then also some operating expenses, some teacher salaries, and a manager, and just the general things you would need for any school.
Sure.
Yeah, and just to provide a little bit of context from having actually been on the ground in Jordan, these schools, like a lot of the students now, are being educated in tents or sort of prefab buildings. And what's really amazing about the students is they are so excited to learn. They are, it doesn't matter that they're sitting on the floor half the day. Like they're begging to learn. They're desperate to learn because they recognize as well that they're the leaders of their country, the future leaders of who are rebuilding. So it's really cool to watch that. And so one of the schools we visited, they had been in a single-story building, and with the funds that Road to Mafraq was able to raise, largely in part from Evansville community, they were able to put a library, a second-floor library, on top of that building, and it made such a huge difference. The kids were using it as like a treat. That was how the teacher said, if you're good and you do this, then you can go to the library. And same with the playground. The playground was such a Ellen kind of shared, there were several students who wouldn't really even talk. They were pretty traumatized and silent, and with the playground and with things like the library, they have just blossomed, and they have friends, and they're laughing and they're playing, and they look more like what you would want 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds to look like. So it's really cool to see how these things actually make a huge difference on the development of these kids.
Wow. Yeah, that's it's hard to take in because I get it, just stuck in my own little world, and so this is a broader thing. So, I'm kind of taken aback here.
Yeah.
So the race is the 10th of September, and that's out at USI is where
it's out at USI. They have a Hearts on Fire course.
Right.
That's the course we're going to be using. And we also have a 1 mile We have a 5K or a 1 mile that you can sign up. Most of the people that have signed up for the 1 mile are kids. Okay. So it's the way we wanted the younger ones or those that are not so inclined to run to get involved as well. And we're also going to have kind of a community, I don't know if you'd call it a community fair or just a community cultural kind of event going on as well during the race and after. And we'll have some booths. We're going to have a craft booth for kids to make a little craft. And Ellen is going to try to take those with her next time she goes to Jordan. And the kids love receiving those types of things from our kids here.
Sure.
We have some Syrian students in the Evansville area, and we're going to try to get some of them to come and kind of be there to, answer questions or talk about their culture or their story, because we really feel like once you meet these, this group of people, you really realize they are not so different. And that's one of the best ways that we can raise awareness, is to let people know, look, this person has the same hopes for their family that you have for your family. They want the same stability that you have for your family. So we'll have that. We're going to have a henna booth so people can get henna, which I'm really excited about. And just a few other, things like that, just to kind of, for the runners to be involved with, their family, students that are already on the campus, but just anybody in the community. We just love you to come out. Even if you're not interested in running, just come check us out and kind of get involved and find out about what we do and, just what this is all about. And I guess we want to make sure we mention that there is a student organization at USI that's sponsoring the race. Okay. It's Kesho. And you want to talk a little bit about that?
So Kesho was formed by a group of students. A lot of them were international students, but they are really focused on empowering women and children. And so they've done a lot of educational events and fundraising and different things like that. So they are kind of teamed up with us to support this mission. They had Ellen, the founder, come and speak and did kind of a fundraiser for Road to Mafraq. So there's kind of a lot of connections with Kesho in this group. So that'll be really cool. And we're also going to have sort of a photo exhibit around the race of some of the pictures that I was able to take when I was there. And part of what Road to Mafraq does is, instead of, you see all of these sob stories and it's these sad kids, and that's very real. That's definitely part of it. But Road to Mafraq really tries to not bring those stories out, not to have these stories that go to children and say, tell us, this really sad story of yours. Instead, it's more like, tell us what you want to do. Like, tell us who you want to be and your dreams and your goals, and keep it really positive. So we're going to have sort of a photo exhibit of some of those pictures and sort of outline some of the dreams of the kids that they shared with us when we were there. So that'll be it'll kind of make it a little more personal and a little more educational of seeing exactly who the money will be impacting. Yeah. So that'll be cool.
So you mentioned earlier that they already had raised some money from Evansville to do some things with the library and everything. Have you found it challenging with the raising money here in Indiana, I guess specifically? Because I know last year we had or maybe it was earlier this year, there was like the Syrian refugee thing that everybody kept debating on Facebook about, keep them out or bring them in or whatever. I mean, it's hard whenever you don't put a face to the name or something, I guess. Maybe that's a little easier to to have that conversation on Facebook.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's harder for people to turn us down in person.
I think that that's why these events are so important, is this is a huge conversation right now. I mean, it's on people's mind. It's something we're talking about. And I think there's a lot of misinformation. And so, partially that's maybe my personal mission, but I think a mission of a lot of us is just like, let's really talk about the facts of these people and what's going on and their impact on our community and our impact on them. So I think these events are really important. And I think they're also important because people are feeling that negativity. We've had a lot of things going on with shootings and, wars and this political campaign. There's just been a lot of negativity. And I think people I know I watch it sometimes and I'm like, this is just so big. Like, I can't, what am I going to do? Yeah. And I think anytime I feel like that, especially having come back from Jordan, it felt huge. And I just was like, I don't even know where to begin. And so this kind of event is so important for all of us, because I feel like it's like, no, we can't solve the Syrian refugee crisis. That's not realistic, but we can rally our community behind something, and we can give people an outlet to do something. That doesn't really answer your question. No, but I think, I don't know. I mean, of course, there's always pushback, and there's always people who don't, get on board. But I think that's probably why it's even more important to keep doing these kind of things.
And I do get hopeful because I think a lot of people that are reluctant to get on board or to donate or to even show up, once you talk to them and start the dialogue, I find that people generally are kind of like, oh, okay, well, I see why this is important to you. And another thing is if I'm passionate about something, then I'm going to want everybody I know to kind of know about it. And I think it's just really important to educate people about, this is what's really going on. And these are some people whose lives are really impacted by this. And I think at the end of the day, until we kind of get our community to be open to meeting people and to having, open dialogue, honest dialogue about this issue or any other kind of hot button issue right now, that's what we're aiming for, is because that's when people really start thinking about, it's easy to sit behind a computer screen and make a comment on a Facebook page or a newspaper article and just not even really think about what you're doing. But it's harder for people whenever I approach them and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Are you interested in it? Let me tell you about kind of what our mission is. Then people are more open to being like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So what you're saying is avoid you.
Yeah. No, everybody.
No, I'm kidding. Wow. So, no, my memory may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, we can just take this whole part out. But
sure.
Was there a video around Christmas time that you guys were traveling around showing, maybe, or?
I don't know if it was. I don't know. I know when I came back in March, I did a video, instead of putting on, I didn't feel comfortable putting pictures of just like, hey, look at all the people. So I sort of put it in a different format of a video that was mine. I know Ellen and No Road to Mafraq has a few videos as well, but not sure that there was one particular that we were going with. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that because the organization had been on my radar for a bit, but I never had spoken to anybody about it.
Yeah,
so
it's been around. There's been a lot of events. Kind of people are getting to know the organization a lot and trying to reach out. So
that's good. And you mentioned the USI connection. Are you involved with any of the other universities around here, or is there any? We do
collaborate a lot with a student organization at UE called Scholars for Syria, and it's not only Syrian students, but most of them are Syrian students. Sure. I think there's about 25 of them that are Syrians, and then there's other students that are involved in it as well. And, this is kind of their baby too. This is their home country, and they want to get awareness out about themselves and their country and how they're not any different than any of us. And so they really have been very helpful with us, and then we try to kind of work with them for their goals too. They had a speaker series actually last semester that's on their website. That's scholarsforsyria.com, but I think they had like 8 maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah. And they were able to tell their stories and sort of put a face with some of the stories that you hear on the news and actually go like, oh yeah, but this is my family, and here's, we came, and one of them, you were kind of talking about pushback of refugees and they're stealing jobs and everything, but one of this student just went through his family and was talking about their education and how educated they are, and a lot of like the contributions they've already made to the U.S. economy, and some of the just the contribution. So that was really cool too for people who aren't as touchy-feely with the issue. It's more just like, well, let's tell some of the other facts. Yeah, what are the numbers? Here's the numbers. We're doing some good stuff here.
Yeah, I think there's a tendency for people to just assume that we're going to absorb refugees and then we're going to be paying all these costs, but they have a lot to offer us as well. It's a two-way street, and I think it's just really important for people to realize that.
Yeah. So you've been to Jordan. Mm-hmm. You've been abroad. Don't know where.
In Europe. I was not in a country where I stood out.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. This is very off topic, but what's something that we don't have in Evansville that you wish we had, maybe that you've seen, out there?
Well, let's see. Totally unrelated to this topic completely.
Totally. No, yeah. This is a complete side conversation.
So I lived when I was in college, this was about over 10 years ago now. I lived in a city called Rennes in France, and it was the size of Evansville, and they had a subway system, and I could not believe it. And it was interesting. That's one thing I wish more cities around here had, because it just made getting around so much easier. And
yeah.
Well, sorry.
No,
Did I cut you
good.
off? Okay. So what I loved so much about being in Jordan was the tradition that when you walk in for a meeting with somebody, you have to sit down and then you wait and they bring you tea. You have a cup of tea with them, and it's usually like half water, half sugar. So it's just this like, whoa, but you sort of love it. Like, even though you're like, I probably shouldn't be drinking this. And then you drink like 4 of them. But, so you sit and you have tea and you talk, or if, a lot of times I couldn't even understand the Arabic, but you just sit with them before you ever do anything else. And so I loved that tradition. I thought it was really cool. And I wish that we brought more of that back, where you just kind of that, even we would walk into some of the poorest refugee homes, like 1-bedroom apartments, and the first thing they would do is, send one of their kids to make tea, and they would serve everybody tea. And, that was a really cool tradition. It was very hospitality driven. I loved it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I apologize for not offering you tea.
I didn't want to say anything, but no.
So next guest is going to be
right.
treated well. Sorry. Yeah. So if someone can't make the race, but wants to help out, wants to donate, the website, the best place to go for that then? Yeah,
we have a race kind of page on our website. It's roadtomafraq.org. So that's road, ROADTOMAFRAQ.org. And you can find a tab to just donate to the organization there. Okay. Or you can also, that's where you can get the link to the website as well, to the race sign-up page as well if people are interested in running in the race. We have a few things on the race sign-up page that are kind of interesting. You can set up a fundraiser yourself. So, which I thought was kind of cool. So you set up your fundraiser and you set a goal, then you can send out to your friends or whoever. You can create a link for the fundraiser and send it out, and people can donate to your fundraiser. And anybody who's running in the race, if they set up a fundraiser and raise $100 or more, they get their race fee back. They get it refunded. So just a little motivation.
You should probably donate that anyway.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell people what to do with the money they get back. I'm just going to put it out there that we're always accepting donations.
Sure. And if they don't, then you'll find them, Sarah, right?
I will. I'm the administrator on the site, and I have their email address. And
so you'll hunt them down, and talk to them in person. And they'll give twice as much.
We also, for runners who sign up early, everybody is guaranteed a T-shirt. So we've had Nick actually design. Well, nobody knows who Nick is on here, but
Nick Basham.
Friend of the show. Nick Basham.
Friend of the show's for
Pour
sure.
one out for Nick. That's a callback to episode 50. For those of you who've listened before.
Yeah, so he designed a T-shirt, which is awesome.
Sure. He designed our logo. He really helped us out.
So everybody, we know runners love T-shirts, and so that is a big deal. So make sure to sign up as early as you can so you get your T-shirt for sure.
Yeah, and we have, we've had a couple of corporate sponsors too. So if there's any companies out there, anybody that owns a business, or you just want to be a sponsor yourself, feel free to contact us, and we'll let people know how to contribute that way.
You will not turn down money.
That's right. We will turn down no money.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, cool. Well, thank you guys for coming over.
Thank you so much for having us.
And we'll put that out there. I'll put links to the pages in the show notes so people don't have to memorize things. But thanks. This sounds like a great thing you guys are doing. So
awesome.
Thank you so much.
And sorry about the tea.
That's all right. We'll let it slide.
Rain check.
All right. Next time.
Thanks.
Thanks again to Liz and Sarah for coming on and talking about this topic. Please check out evansvillepodcast.com for the links to their organization and to sign up for the 5K. September 10th should be a good day. Go go for a run, help out some children, and then go spend the rest of the day out at Garvin Park, enjoy music for Parks Fest. So September 10th is shaping up to be one of those great Evansville days that we have. Thanks, everybody, and good job, everybody.